So once we've found the front of our design and marked it so that we don't lose our place, we then need to start outlining the carrot. So if we look at the design, you can see that the carrot goes slightly to the left of the centre. So this is where we want to outline the carrot. And the best way to do this is to use a bit of very diluted black colouring. So I've got a bit of black powder colour, food colouring here, just on a plate, normal plate. And you want to take a food paintbrush, just a small one. You can see it's a very fine head here so that we can get the detail. Then using a bit of vodka or boiled water. I prefer vodka because it's naturally antibiotic. It's naturally antibacterial, and it also dries really fast, which helps with working with the paint. Boiled water, it tends to make the icing go a little bit stickier and it's a little hard to work with, but I know that some people might not want to use vodka, so boiled water is perfectly fine. Allow it to cool first. So I'm going to use some vodka. So you just take a little bit of vodka. I put it into a shot glass because you really don't need much and you don't want to waste it. So just a little tiny bit into a shot glass and then start to mix it with the powder. Now you want a really, really faint grey, barely past white really, because this is just to give an outline. And it allows that if there's any little mistakes, it shouldn't be too obvious. So mix up a little bit of the paint. Just keep adding vodka until you get a nice diluted grey. Want it a bit lighter than that really, so add more of the vodka. You'll also notice with the powder, you can use pastes. I personally find that pastes react in a different way, so it's personal preference really. I like the consistency that I can get with powder, but you want to keep mixing it because what will happen is as the vodka dries, the powder starts to separate out again, so you have to work fairly fast. Now this is still a bit dark here, so it's not water, I was about to say watering it down, it's not vodkaing it down if you like. Keep adding in the vodka until you get a pale, very pale grey. I would avoid using, you can get white food colouring powder. I would avoid using that at this stage because it'll actually make it a more solid colour, and we really want like a washed out grey, a watercolour really. So keep going. So I'm about there now. So now that I've got that really washed out grey, I can start to paint the outline of the carrot. So I'm just going to look at my design again to be sure what I'm doing. So there's my centre line, effectively where the edge of the carrot finishes, and then it goes up to about 2/3 of the way, and then we've got the carrot top. So my centre line is here, looking at me. So my edge of my carrot is going to finish. I'll mark it about there and get a little bit more paint. Always add a bit of vodka to your brush before you go back into it because it will have dried out in that time. It's very fast. And then I want the top of my carrot to finish before we put the carrot tops, which is the green bit. So I want the top of the actual carrot to finish about 2/3 up the cake. So about there, I would think. So if I turn that towards you, so you'll see just about make out that I've got a little dot for the bottom of my carrot and a little dot for the top of my carrot. You then want to fill in that shape, only an outline, you don't want to actually fill with colour. So you just want to draw out the shape with a bit more of that washed out grey. So you just start to go round. It's quite forgiving, this grey, which is good. That's why you don't want to have it too dark. And remember that carrots aren't perfect either, and it actually adds more character and sort of quirk to the design if you sort of allow for a bit of sort of bumpy edge to it rather than completely smooth. So I'm going to actually purposefully put a bit of a kink in there and bring it down. and obviously you're aiming for that dot, so by that dot it needs to be a point. So keep bringing it in, work it down. You can go a little bit past that dot to allow for sort of a bit of root. And there, if I bring it up a little bit, you should be able to see you've just got that faint outline of the carrot. So then what you need to do is carry on outlining. You need to put in the green stems, and so if you do that, and I will see you at the next step.